Eccolo, damos la bienvenida.
Here he is. Let's welcome Pope Francis.
Bienvenido.
Welcome.
Aquí. Los chicos no, pero mi marido sí. Bienvenido, es un placer, ¿eh? Gracias. Por favor, si nos podemos sentar.
So please, if you can take your seats now. Thank you.
Mi permetto di parlare lo spagnolo.
Allow me to speak in Spanish. Good afternoon, welcome. And I wish to thank you sincerely from my heart for the work you've done. It's true that I can talk about the issue of care of the environment and this culture of care for the environment. And this culture of care for the environment is not just, and I'm saying this in the good sense, not just quote unquote green. It's not just a green attitude, it's much more than this. Taking care of the environment means an attitude of human ecology. So we can't say that the person is here and the creation, the environment is over there. Ecology is something total, it is human. And this is what I tried to express in the encyclical Laudato Si, that we cannot separate man from everything else. There is a relationship which has a huge impact, both the environment on the person and the person in the way they treat the environment, and also the rebound effect against man when the environment is mistreated. And because of this, faced by a question which was put to me, no, it's not a green encyclical, it is a social encyclical, because inside the social life of human beings, we cannot separate care for the environment. Care for the environment is a social attitude
Che nos socializza.
which socialize us in one way or the other. And I can contribute the value you want to this. And on the other hand, this makes us receive, I like the Italian expression, the creato, creation, what was created, which the Lord has given us, and the environment, that is. And on the other hand, why this invitation, which was an idea of the Academy, and an idea, I think it was a very fruitful idea on the part of Monsignor Sanchez Sorondo to invite mayors of large cities and also some smaller cities to talk about these issues, because one of the things which we notice when there is not care for the environment and creation is the growth of cities, the uncontrolled growth of cities. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and as if the cities grow, but there are belts of poverty around them which are wider and where people suffer the impact of lack of care for the environment. And in this sense, we also have migration involved, because people come into big cities, they come to the peripheries, and you have shanty towns, slums, with all the names they have, because the rural world for these people does not give them enough opportunity. And this is a point which is in the encyclical with great respect. However, this needs to be denounced. The idolatry of technocracy. The idolatry of technocracy leads to deprive people of work. It leads to unemployment. There's a lot of unemployment, and unemployment means that new people have to seek new horizons by emigrating. A large number of unemployed people. I don't have the statistics, but in some countries in Europe, particularly the young people in some countries of Europe, youth unemployment, people under 25, is above 40%, and in some cases it reaches 50%. So 40, 50. I'm thinking of serious statistics which are reported by heads of government, heads of state directly. And this, if we project it towards the future, shows us a spectre of a unemployed youth, which today, what kind of horizon, what kind of future can they look towards? They have addictions, they don't know their lives. It's a meaningless life with youth suicides among young people. The statistics on youth suicides are not published in their entirety, or looking for other possibilities. Some turn to guerrilla activities to find some meaning in life. And also health is jeopardized. The great number of what so-called rare diseases, which derive from lots of fertilizers used in fields, but there's an excess of what I would call technification. The biggest problems are oxygen and water, the desertification of huge areas because of deforestation. Here, alongside me, I have the Cardinal Archbishop, who is responsible for Brazilian Amazonia, and he can tell us what deforestation means in Amazonia today. Amazonia is one of the great lungs of the world, and deforestation is up to 8 or 9 years ago, I can't remember which federal government they had decided to stop deforestation, which affected the population. So what happens when all these phenomena of excessive technology and lack of care for the environment, as well as natural phenomena, impact migration? And we have the trafficking of people, illegal labor, black labor, labor employment without contracts is increasingly common, which is under the table, with under the table agreements. This means that a person don't earn enough to live, and this could lead to forms of addiction and lots of other things which happen in a large city with these migrations caused by gentrification. I'm referring to agro industry, and we also have trafficking of people in mining activities. People who are enslaved in mining activities are a great many today. What the use of certain minerals means, arsenic, cyanide, which cause illnesses in people, and there's a lot of responsibility there. So there's a huge rebound effect against the same people. So the trafficking of people, enslaved labor, prostitution, these are sources of work in order to be able to survive nowadays. And so I'm very glad that you have reflected on these phenomena, and I've just mentioned some which affect large cities. And I could say that we really have to involve the in these things. I have a great hope in the Paris summit in November. I hope that a fundamental, basic agreement is reached. I have great hopes in that. And the United Nations really need to take a very strong position on this issue, particularly the trafficking of human beings caused by this environmental situation and the exploitation of people. A couple of months ago, I received a delegation of women from the United Nations who were tasked with investigating the sexual exploitation of children in countries in conflict. There were children who are exploited is another issue, and war is another factor which leads to an imbalance in the environment. And I wanted to conclude with a reflection which is not mine. It's by Romano Guardini, a theologian and a philosopher who speaks of two types of in culture. In culture, God gave us for us to transform it into culture. He gave us the task to be stewards and to administer the earth. And the second in culture is when the man doesn't respect this relationship with the earth. It doesn't care for the earth. This is something which is very clear in the biblical story. Second, lack of culture. When man does not take care of it, man begins to take this of its bed and out of its riverbed, and it spills over into his hands, and this forms a second type of ignorance. Atomic energy is good. It can help us, but how far, if we think of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, already it's caused, and there are ancient examples of this. This second form of lack of culture of ignorance is what destroys man. A medieval rabbi, practically the same period as St. Thomas of Aquinas, explained that in a midrash, the problem of the Tower of Babel was discussed in a synagogue, and he said that building the Tower of Babel took a long time, took a lot of work, particularly for the bricks. It meant getting the mud and the straw, compacting it, cutting the bricks, having them dry, putting them into an oven. A brick, it was something which was very, very valuable, and they took the bricks up to be placed on top of the tower. When a brick fell, it was a huge problem. The person who was responsible, the person who let the brick punished. When a worker fell, nothing happened. This is the drama of this second form of ignorance. Man, as a creator of ignorance and in culture, non-culture and not culture, a creator of non-culture because he doesn't take care of the environment. And this meeting of mayors called by the Pontifical Academy is important, because if this conscience comes from the center and goes to the periphery, the most important work is done from the periphery to the center. That is, say, from you to the conscience of humankind. The Holy See or individual countries may be able to make nice speeches at the United Nations, but if the work doesn't come from the periphery, moving to the center, there is no effect. And that is the responsibility of you mayors of cities. And therefore, I'm very, very grateful for you to have met as peripheries to address this problem. Each of you have in your cities things which I have described and which you have to try and manage and govern. And so I thank you for your cooperation. Monsignor Sanchez Rondo told me that many of you have spoken, and that this has been a very rich endeavor. And so I would like to ask the Lord that conscience can be acquired of this problem of destruction which we ourselves causing in not taking care of human ecology and not having an ecological conscience, which we were given initially to transform the first non-culture into culture, and not to transform culture into non-culture. Thank you.
Uno de los vecinos de los que no pudo venir, lo quedaron, y es el de